Hello everyone, welcome to C4 Chess. Today we are going to see one of the greatest chess games played by Paul Morphy. Now this game was played in 1858 when Morphy was only 21 years old. So Morphy started the game with pawn to e4. His opponent Carl Duke, he played pawn to e5. Now Morphy played knight to f3, just developing the knight like a modern game and also attacking the pawn on e5. And then black played pawn to d6. This move pawn d6, it's not a very good choice because now this bishop is buried alive in the game. In modern chess we prefer to play knight to c6, that develops the knight and also protects the pawn on e5. However, after this knight f3, black played pawn to d6 and now Morphy played pawn to d4, immediately striking in the center. Black played bishop to g4. Now this bishop is pinning the knight. So Morphy took the pawn on e5. And now black cannot take this pawn on e5. I mean, they can capture, but it's not a very good choice because the white queen can capture the black queen. King has to take it back. They cannot do castling anymore, and now the knight can capture on e5. Then f7 pawn is under attack, g4 bishop is under attack, and not so pleasant position for black. So after this move, pawn takes on d5. Black played bishop takes f3 first. Morphy took the bishop on f3 with the queen, and now his opponent played d takes e5. Then Morphy played bishop to c4. Already we can see there is a checkmate threat on f7. So black has to do something about it. Black played knight to f6. This move develops the knight, also preventing the checkmate. So now Morphy played queen to b3. Now there are two attackers on the f7 square and there is only one defender. So black has to defend this f7 pawn once again. So black played queen to e7, protecting the pawn on f7. Now we can see Morphy could capture the pawn on b7, but it's not a very good choice. If we take the pawn on b7, black can play bishop queen to b4 with a check to the king and also attacking the queen. So it is now almost forced. Morphy has to take the queen back. Then bishop captures and that's a check to the king, and not a very good choice. So after this move queen to e7, Morphy focused on the development. He played knight to c3, developing the knight, also defending the pawn on e4. Now black played pawn to c6. This move, it's a prophylactic move. It prevents the knight from coming to d5 or b5. And also now the queen is protecting the pawn on b7 so that the white queen cannot capture. So Morphy played bishop to g5, developing the bishop and pinning black's knight on f6. So black played pawn to b5. Now it's a hyper aggressive move. This move pawn to b5, it's not a very good choice because we can see black's pieces, most of them they are sitting on the home square only. And when our pieces are not developed, we should not push pawns further like this. So Morphy played knight takes on b5. He sacrificed his knight for two pawns. So pawn takes on b5 and then bishop takes on b5. Now it's a check to the king. So black played knight b d7, just developing the knight and also blocking the check. And then Morphy played long castling. Now we can see there are too much pressure on the d7 knight. So black has to do something about this pin. So black played rook a d8, just defending the knight once again. And here comes another sacrifice by Paul Morphy. He played rook takes on d7, sacrificing the rook. Now black has lots of pieces to capture the rook, but the queen cannot capture. We are just simply getting the queen. The knight cannot capture the d7 because again we are getting the queen. King cannot capture, obviously the bishop is protecting. So the only logical looking move here is to capture the rook with the rook. So black played rook takes d7 and now not capturing the rook back immediately. Instead Morphy played his another rook to d1, and now again there are lots of pressure on the d7 rook. So black has to do something about it. Black played queen to e6, just hoping that Morphy will exchange the queens. But here comes the greatest combination played by this legendary player Paul Morphy, he played bishop takes on d7 with a check to the king. Now the king cannot capture again, obviously the white rook is defending, the queen should not capture, black will lose the queen. Only move for black here is to take the bishop with the knight. So knight takes on d7, and here comes the queen sacrifice by Paul Morphy. He played queen to b8, sacrificing his queen. Now the king cannot go to e7, that square is already blocked by the bishop. So the only move for black here is to take the queen. They have to accept the sacrifice. Knight takes on b8, and then comes rook to d8. That's a checkmate. King has nowhere to go, nothing to do. It cannot capture the rook as it is protected by the bishop. Thank you. That's a checkmate. Also, this checkmate is often known as opera's mate because this game was played in Paris and in opera house. So this is the opera's mate by Paul Morphy. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments which game you would like to see in the next. Thank you. Hello.